Why Turkish military planes are constantly, repeatedly flying to Pakistan? What Pakistan is getting out of this? Is Turkey the only country? And what is the role of Asim Munir, the newly changed powers that he has gotten, and also Operation Sindoor? Hello everyone, welcome to Vajram and Ravi's Flash News. My name is Shubhangi Singh, and today we are going to understand that why this movement of Turkey military planes to Pakistan is something that needs to be seen through the lens of India's security, because this is not an isolated event. We need to put this in a thread, and that tells us exactly why that India should also be preparing, but for what? Now, when we are looking at this, first let's understand that why this is a big piece of news, why this is something that we should understand. So, when we are looking at this current situation, this is coming from the fact that in just less than 30 hours, we saw multiple movement of C-130 military transport aircraft, and this indicates that there have been direct visit to two important bases of Pakistan, and the intelligence inputs and multiple sources have already clarified that this movement was not a random transport aircraft movement. This movement was for transfer of drones, the associated system of drones, and also air defense equipments. Now, as I said in the starting, do we think any other country is also involved in this picture? So yes, we are looking at not just Turkey, we are also looking at China. Now, recently, if you remember, we also talked about that how China had sent Hangar class submarines to Pakistan, and how that can enable Pakistan's presence in Bay of Bengal. Now, we have to remember all these facts, and then we can move to some conclusion. So, we are suspecting that Pakistan has the possibility to be in Bay of Bengal. Not just this, how China has a very clear understanding and uses of Chattogram port in Bangladesh, which marks the presence, then if at all any submarine of Pakistan is stationed in Bay of Bengal, that can be serviced, maintained and more. Now, in this context, this is something that India needs to understand, that how Pakistan is preparing and how Pakistan is upgrading, not just in terms of military equipment, but also in terms of the mutual relationship it shares with the countries around India. Now, in this context, China never been friend of India, Turkey never been friend of India, but at the same time, the effect that it have is something big. Now, once we have understood what exactly has unfolded and we have looked into other situations as well, let us try to understand that what exactly has happened, that Pakistan is looking to upgrade its military equipments. So, in this context, the first thing that you need to establish here, that this is not the only thing that Pakistan has been doing. This is not happening in isolation. One example I just gave you, that was of Hangar class. But the question here is why? So, for this, I need you to go back to understand that how just after Pahalgam attack, India decided to retaliate, and India did not shy away from an almost upfront war as well. So, in that context, Operation Sindoor was change of battlefield. And this battlefield that was set up during that time showed that drones and the changing technology, military technology, is going to play a huge role. And that's when Pakistan thought, yes, we need to focus on drones for precision strikes, air defense, so that they can protect themselves and their important air bases. If you remember how certain air bases were named during Operation Sindoor, not by the military professionals, rather by public, but there was no direct confirmation to it. So, in this context, the idea is to not reel from Operation Sindoor, but prepare if anything emerged in next. Or maybe Pakistan is planning something. Apart from that, the focus has also been on loitering munitions, so that the low-cost attacks can be carried out. And when you club all of this, this shows that it will ensure faster response in terms of what? In terms of precision and protection at low cost. Because the next time, the war may not be just limited to border. So Pakistan has this very fair clarity that they should have, and in this context, another thing that you need to associate that why they are upgrading. So in this context, you need to look at the military architecture of that country as well. So when we are looking at that, let me remind you that how recently extreme powers, sweeping powers have been given to Asim Munir. It is not new in Pakistan where we see the highest military rank trying to capture the political as well as country's regime. So in this context where Asim Munir has not been just made Chief of Defence Staff, but he has also been Chief of Army Staff. In this context, he has been a responsible figure where we get to understand that how Pakistan is expanding its footprint not across the globe, how Pakistan is becoming steady in terms of future wars, prediction and getting ready for them. And the new powers that he has got where he has a clear control over Army, Navy and Air Force as the Chief of Defence Staff. This also clearly signifies that how not just the personnel command decisions will be in hand, but how the military decisions will be shaping up for Pakistan. Now comes yet another important question which we started with, that why Turkey? Why Turkey is helping Pakistan and why Pakistan is choosing Turkey. So this is where I need to remind you again of a very recent news, Mecca Pact. But apart from that, we cannot let go of the fact here that Pakistan and Turkey have always been close friends. How Turkey has been never recognizing that Jammu and Kashmir is ours, how Turkey condemned Operation Sindoor, how Turkish handler was involved in the Pahalgam attack that took place, and so many more angles. But at the same time, the recent Mecca Pact between Turkey, Pakistan and Saudi Arabia is a wide defense military pact. Even though it says it is for intelligence sharing, defense cooperation, we have to understand that this is the front of Islamic NATO, and where we have Turkey giving the technology, Saudi is the where with the money and the strategic depth, and Pakistan with military power, and don't forget nuclear power. So this is where the starting point can be understood that the Mecca Pact is also facilitating this movement. Pakistan is choosing Turkey because Turkey has been known for its defense technology and Turkey wants to become a defense exporter. What better point to start than here? Now in this context, I hope we have understood that how the rounding up against India is happening, how Pakistan is upgrading and getting ready, how we have partners on Pakistan's end, and especially with China's role here. We need to establish where India stands. So in this context, when we have a comparison, especially in terms of drones and air capabilities, India is definitely placed very well in terms of number and in terms of depth. The scale we have, the numbers that we have, but how can we forget that the squadron numbers required as of now are not appropriate. And at the same time, when we see Pakistan upgrading, going up and above with technologies from Turkey and China, it shows that the gap that is existing might not be that wide that we are thinking of now. And this is when India needs to spring in action. Not in terms of just military upgrades, not just in terms of equipment upgrades, but also in terms of diplomatic fronts where we need to ensure that the global image that we are talking about is really going to convert into actions, not just in words. Because what Pakistan is doing as of now, if they are preparing for the next war or if they are preparing for the war that has already happened. If you look at Operation Sindoor, the lackness that we saw at Pakistan, and maybe Pakistan is mending that. Maybe Pakistan is planning something big. We can never be sure on that end. But what we can be sure of, that India needs to be prepared. Let me know in the comment section, do you think that India needs to be prepared on the diplomatic front? Let me know the main points. I'll be waiting to see your comments on that. And now I'm leaving you here with the prelims practice question. Very basic, easy one. Let me know the answer to this in the comment section. That was all from my side. Thank you so much.